in New York, do you want to help? And they would have said, yes, we'll help. We don't like them. And then before you know it, 9/11 happened. Yes, well, that's why it's been so hushed up and nobody ever talks about it. I don't know, sir. I just suspend judgment. I'm saying, let's find out. Yeah. I know some crazy people say it was space aliens did it. I haven't got a clue, Donald. I just want to get to the truth. Yeah, I'm very old-fashioned as a historian. I think history is the science of discovering the truth about historical events. Okay. Anyway, look, I assure you the people of Iraq and Iran would breathe a huge sigh of relief if we could get this set up. Okay, now let's go on. So look, this is the state of play. I'm grateful that you found time. Can I just ask something? Because we're going to put Rouhani back on the line in a minute, and I'll talk to both of you. But, you know, he is quite a scholar. I know you studied economics, yeah. Yeah, congrats. And you spent a bit of time at Fordham, didn't you? Fordham is a great university. Yeah, especially for philosophy. Yeah, philosophy wasn't really your thing. No, I know. And that's why you transferred, yeah. Well, so I don't suppose you've ever read the Quran then, eh? No. Not even excerpts. Okay. Well, I recommend it, Donald, because, you know, if you're going to go to World War III against Muslims, you should know where they're coming from. I could do that, yeah. The best thing is find time to listen to my commentaries on it, because I've done a commentary series for non-Muslims who can listen in great depth to like every single verse explained in... Yes, and I've done it in chronological order, because a lot of people say the Quran's incomprehensible, it's not in order. Yeah, it's like the Bible, the verses are all jumbled up and published in order of length. I mean, that would be bonkers. You'd have bits of St. Paul jumbled up with the Book of David or whatever, you know. Yeah. No, so I put the whole thing back into chronological order, and therefore it makes sense. It unfolds as a story. And it's a gripping and extraordinary story, and I think you'd benefit. You see, Muhammad was quite a genius, a spiritual genius, and whether we, know much about him or not, it's always repays to take the effort of time to study. You know, even Tony Blair read the Quran. Yeah. Yes, he's now a great interfaith specialist. I think I might have had something to do with that, actually. Yeah. So look, I think that there's so much more we could say here, but I think it's in everybody's interest to prevent this war getting escalated off into the stratosphere. Yeah. I mean, one way of describing Islam to you is to say it's a kind of form of Oriental Gnostic Christianity. Yeah, Oriental because it's from the East, and Gnostic because it stresses knowledge. Yeah, Islam is very strong on knowledge, actually. Yeah, the duty on every Muslim is to try and find out as much as possible that they can about the nature of God. It's a duty for them intellectually. And truth is the fundamental means they do that. That's why they don't like alcohol, because they don't like to get drunk. It muddles their head. They lose the truth. You know, the words come out slurry and people tend to lie. So, yeah, and you don't drink either. I mean, Donald, you're almost a Muslim. Yes, all it means is someone who's surrendered to truth. Yeah. Yeah, it means I've given up the fight of my ego against God. I'm not going to try and take on God and be better than God. I'm going to love God and do what I can in the way of service to help his creation, this amazing planet. Yeah, you love golf courses, so that's why you keep buying them up and doing them up. You wouldn't want to press a button that destroyed all your golf courses. Well, just think how annoyed God would be if you start pressing buttons that are going to destroy parts of his amazing creation. Yeah, not a good idea, Donald. No. So, and we should ask, well, what would Christ do in this situation? Yeah, I'm going to share with you actually a little quote, because I've got this little quote from St. Paul. I think you might like this. Today is nearly Epiphany, tomorrow, and in the Anglican Church, yeah, which I belong to, we say certain sayings in the Book of Common Prayer, and this is what we say at Epiphany. It's a quote from the Epistle of St. Paul to the Ephesians, and I'm just going to read a part of it. Yeah, you might recognise it. It says, okay, unto me, who am less than the least of all the saints, is this grace given, that I should preach among the Gentiles the unsearchable riches of Christ, and to make all men see what is the fellowship of the mystery, which from the beginning of the world hath been hid in God, who created all things by Jesus Christ, to the intent that now unto the principalities and powers in heavenly places might be known by the church the manifold wisdom of God. Yeah, it's about real estate again, isn't it? Yeah. So that's right, the heavenly palaces. Yeah, yes, real estate doesn't stop at death. I mean, it goes on. Yeah, St. Thomas said there are palaces in heaven. Yeah. Yeah, you can have Trump Towers in heaven, but you've got to get in there first, Donald. Yeah. You can build the library in heaven. You can refit it. Yeah. But you've got to get in there first, and you won't do that if you blow the world up because of some annoyance about Iran, that you've been brain-fed. No, Iran isn't the problem. It was from Iran the Magi came, for God's sake. That's what I was trying to say. The Magi were these priest, sages, seers from the East who came to baby Jesus with the good news of Epiphany. Yeah, and that's what we're trying to celebrate tomorrow, the 6th of January. So look, let's get this conversation going. I'm going to bring back Rouhani. Okay, thank you so much for agreeing to this. Yeah, I take my hat off to you, and thank you for having the magnanimity to listen a bit. Yeah, there's so much more we could say. Okay, now I'm going to see if he's still there. Just 1 second whilst I connect you both. Hello, gentlemen. Greetings. Are you both? Can you both hear me clearly? Greetings. Yeah, President Rouhani, and yeah, greetings, President Trump. Now, it's such an honour to have both of you on the call here, and yeah, you might like to just greet each other. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being so polite. Yes, let me just explain that the protocol of this mediation, I mean, I shouldn't have to explain this, but the first is we agree to tell the truth. The second is we agree to try and work together to solve this problem. The third is we don't interrupt each other, and that we don't do rants or abuse of any kind. Yeah. Yeah, I think your aides brought you into this earlier. Yeah, so as I said to you both individually, I run this multifaith and multicultural mediation service. Yeah, that's right, President Trump. Yes, I think I explained that. But anyway, I set it up back in 1995 after meetings in the Vatican and so on. And yeah, it's the only mediation service that deals with interfaith disputes. Yes, well, it's not often always acknowledged, but I think that if there's going to be a world war precipitated by US and Iranian breakdown of communication, that's a faith dissonance. Yes, correct. So that's the premise I'm coming from, is that as an interfaith intellectual, you would have more in common than you realise, and that therefore it's a grounds for peacemaking. Yeah. Okay, what do I mean? Okay, so look, I've studied Iranian philosophy for many years. I mean, I'm an amateur compared to President Rouhani. Yeah, I know. I take my hat off to you, but I have studied enough to know the richness that there is to study there. Or going all the way back to Zoroastrianism and so on, and then down to the Shia tradition. But I've also studied American philosophy in great detail. I'm a great fan of aspects of American thought, particularly the New England transcendentalists. Yeah, that's Thoreau and Emerson. Yeah. Yes, and I'm very interested in American New Age religion. I've spent time in California. I've met lots of New Age thinkers over the years. That's right. Yes, and people like Alice Bailey, who was an American theosophist, and many others of that genre. Yeah. Yes, I'm an expert in New Age philosophy as well, and I've lectured on this. So anyway, the point is that what's extraordinary about this is that American New Age thinkers, and you've got one of them standing as a presidential candidate, Marianne Williamson, right? Their philosophy is so similar to ancient Iranian Shia mysticism in the works of people like Mullah Sadra and Suhrawardi and the other great Shia intellectuals. Yeah, it's almost word for word. You know, what the New Age people say about my mind controls reality. If I think different, I'm going to get a better life. That I create my negative karma by negative thoughts and so on. It's all there in Iranian philosophy 1,000 years before. I know, this is the paradox of, so Emerson, he was probably some reborn Persian sage, and the same with Thoreau and all these other New Age teachers. I've never understood why America didn't realise this and didn't love Iranian philosophy. I know some do. Yes, you have Syed Hossein Nasr. He's the greatest Iranian philosopher, I would say. Yeah. I know. Well, President Rouhani, I know. But have you invited him back to Tehran to give any talks? You see, it might help diffuse things if a senior American intellectual, specialist in Shiism, were to come back and give some public lectures about peace. I know, yes, I have met him. Yeah, I think he's still compos mentis enough to do it. Or if not, one of his students. Because, yes, you see, the whole point of Thoreau and that New England Transcendentalist movement was about peace. That's the most important way of being faithful to truth. And that was the point of the Shia tradition, the witness. Yeah. So, okay, so you both see where I'm coming from. I'm trying to say that if we can get an agreement between you two, premised on the integrity of your own traditions, which focuses on the commonality of universal values within both your traditions, absolutely, of course they exist. Then if we can get an agreement, then, well, the military types can just go and take a running jump. They're ridiculous. They can go back and hide in their holes. No, the civilians have the control over the military. That's the way it works, thank God. Yeah. Yes, but for that we need true intellectuals to take charge here. Yeah. Well, that's right. Intellect is aql in Arabic, and reason, divine reason. That's right. It's for our mutual enlightenment. Yeah. So I'm speaking also on behalf of the World Intellectual Forum. That's right. I've just been in India, one of our meetings with the Jains and many others from Russia and Ukraine and all over the place. Even someone came from Mauritius, lovely island in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and all over India. I mean, everyone has an intellect. That's right. We don't want to start applying it to war, but to peace. Yes, Jafar as-Sadiq was, that's right, President Rouhani, yeah. Now, he wrote about this divine intellect. Well, as did every single Christian thinker that was ever any, worth. Can I tell you both an interesting story? When I was in the Vatican Library a few years ago, yeah, I have a reader's ticket, yeah. You've not been. Well, I do recommend it to both of you. I'm sure the Pope would let us use the Vatican for a face-to-face meeting, by the way. It's a kind of neutral territory, like Christ's, seat on earth. And you both revere and love Christ, so I'm sure the Vatican would love to host a peace meeting there. Yeah. Anyway, I'll take you into the library if we manage to pull that off. Because there's a section of the library, which I don't know if it's much used, but they have all these amazing Gnostic and esoteric and philosophical works. I felt like I'd died and gone to heaven when I was in there. And I found this book by Abelard. Yes, the great French, Breton philosopher and thinker. He got very excited because he was trying to reconcile Aristotle with the Bible, and he implied that we have to use reason in our study of the Bible. Anyway, he used the verb to intellect as a verb, not just a noun. He said, no, it's not just a noun, intellect. It's a verb, intellecting. And he wrote a whole book about what it means to intellect, like to think, essentially. Thank you. Well, that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm saying to you both. Please do some intellecting together. Correct. And you will find that it's much more useful to apply intellecting to the disengagement from violence and warfare, to the stepping down from that fatal leap into World War III. I won't be able to sleep well tonight unless I get you both agreed to do some common intellecting for peace. Thank you. Thank you. Well, that's wonderful. I've always said that this, it could have been a mistake, Donald. I mean, maybe you were misinformed. Maybe you were told that this was a just killing. I mean, I think you need to seriously find out who's on your staff feeding you this stuff. No, this was not a just killing, Donald, as far as I can see. This man, yes, he was a general. Yeah, but you have generals. They're doing their job by defending their country and its interests. One doesn't have the right to go around dropping bombs on them willy-nilly wherever you don't like them. Yes, but the point is, Donald, I think Rouhani will back me up here, won't you? I mean, no, I'm not taking sides. I'm anchored on truth here. I've sworn to tell you the truth of this mediation. Well, I know it's my truth, but that's what to intellect means. You try and work out what is the true truth from what is your subjective, I want this to be the truth. Yeah, and that's why we use scientific method and objective means of reasoning, As a historian, that's what I was trained to do. And as a philosopher, doubly so, yes. Yeah, so it seems to me that from all the grounds I can see, that it was false information you were fed, Donald, because this man, Quaseem, he was really a bit of a hero even to the Americans, because you know what, he'd managed to fight off these really extremist, noxious ISIL types who've created a toxic form of Islam. Okay, so it's as if, I don't know, some foreign power had made an alliance with the Appalachian snake handlers who are behind the Ku Klux Klan and had promoted that as authentic Christianity, armed them, and set up a rebel base throughout the whole of the middle of America. And these people are now running riot, and they're massacring anyone from the East Coast and anyone from the West Coast. And they're burning them alive, and they're burying them alive and chopping their heads off, Well, I mean, that's what it's like, what happened with this ISIL extremist type. Well, would that be Christianity? Those Appalachian snake-handling, death cult, redneck types? Yeah, they Well, of course it's not Christianity. It's a madness. It's a form of hypnotism, self-hypnotism, that is diabolic. Well, that's what ISIL are. And this man, Quaseem, was standing up to them. He had the courage, the tenacity, and the brains to take them on and defeat them. So that's what you should have been working with. Yes, and you were working with him. I note that after 9/11, America started working with him, and he was prepared to give all the targets about Taliban. Yeah, and for a while you worked with him. And then that president declared Iran part of the axis of evil. For God's sake, Bush! What? Who was Bush working for apart from the Lord of Cocaine? I mean, what a complete moron. Well, Trump, at least you don't have to make that mistake. Yeah, and I'm so glad you haven't done these kind of things. So now we come to this very important thing. So yes, it was a mistake, I think, Donald. You've got to admit the man was actually on your side, I on the side of truth. Well, I don't know. Do you want to be on the side of evil and ignorance and lies? Does anyone? Consciously? No, of course we don't. All of us have a duty to be answerable towards the source of truth and goodness, which we can call God, the beingness of being. I don't think it matters theologically where we're coming from. I don't think that source is going... Yeah, all the near-death experiences I've read, I mean, I think it's the same whether you're a Hindu, a Buddhist, a Jew, a Muslim, a Christian, whatever. Yeah, you go to some spiritually overwhelming experience of love and wisdom which understands. Yeah, I think if you pursue a path of evil and ignorance, then you exclude yourself from that presence. Yeah, and that's not a good thing to do. Yeah, and also, like, the reason I'm trying to prevent, World War III is because I'm a historian, and I follow E.P. Thompson's diction. He founded Historians of Peace, which I now run. He said historians demand a continuing supply of history. I don't want history to end with World War III. I don't want... You get his humour. Yeah, he was a great historian of the English working classes, actually. Yeah. No, that's the poor, Donald. Yeah. I mean, I know you've never been poor, have you? I mean, we're from a very different background. Now, I suppose I'm middle class, but, I've known times when money's tight. And poverty is a terrible thing. Yeah, I'm doing a commentary on the work of Karl Marx, Das Kapital. Yeah. Well, he wrote about poverty. Now, I don't agree with what he said, Hassan, in many things. And I think he was an elitist materialist who thought that Victorian science could explain everything with particle physics and, well, not particle physics in his day, but sort of billiard ball Newtonian physics. Yeah, he was arrogant. He didn't understand the importance of spirituality. Yeah, I learned the hard way. But I'm doing a commentary because even though, in spite of all that, what Marx did know about was the pernicious origins and source of wealth disparity and how that fuels a lot of conflict in history. And his ideal for communism was actually very similar to what Islam and Christianity want, a world of peace and justice. Yeah, so in my work as an intellectual, I'm trying to kind of reconcile these great traditions and see, is there a common ground here? Well, thank you. Okay, I've got another suggestion, right? Because the whole world's expecting you guys to start throwing bombs around and blowing the world up. But why don't we have a kind of a common jihad for truth? Why don't we, for instance, why don't you appoint, I don't know, the 99 greatest thinkers in your countries, that's in Iran and America, go out and ask the Academy of Sciences, go and ask the top academics in a sort of secret ballot type process to appoint genuinely the greatest thinkers. Not just like my brother because he's my brother. No, genuinely the greatest thinkers. The most enlightened people in the US. Yeah, I mean, in America you could look at that wonderful Buddha at the gas pump interviews that Rick Archer does. Ask Rick. He should be on the panel selecting. So who are the 99 most intelligent, most enlightened of all the people he's ever interviewed? Yeah, from different fields of knowledge. Like the true saints of the country, right? And the same with the people in Iran, President Rouhani. Ask the Sufis, ask the true Shia Sufis. Who are the real sages and saints of Iran? Okay, 99. That's right. And then let's invite those 99 saints from Iran and 99 living saints from America to come to Paris, and we'll have a feast. I'll chair a great discussion. We'll have like a Paris Peace Forum, and we can come up with ideas on how to lessen the tension, how to get rid of this horrible enemy image thing. That's what I was doing as a philosopher during the Cold War. I tried to stop America and Russia demonizing and hating each other, because I went to both countries. I had friends from both countries. I loved Russian and American culture, and I saw it was very similar, in fact. And therefore, gradually, working with others, I was elected coordinator of Philosophers of Peace at that time in 1990 in Moscow. Yeah. Absolutely. And so, yes, we realised that we stopped demonising the other. And then gradually it led to the Cold War ending. I know it's been a bumpy ride and some people want to bring it back, but no, I'm saying enough is enough, no more Cold War, please. But no more hot war in the Middle East either. So we have to get Iranians and Americans to realise that they're just brothers and sisters under the one sun. The unknowable great God is in charge of all history, including all of the history of Iran and all of America and all of Europe and Britain and everywhere. Yeah. Humility is boundless, that's right. T.S. Eliot said that. I couldn't agree more. It's the sea we all should swim in. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what Islam means, to surrender to the absolute. I know, how can any one human encompass the kind of incredible splendour of the creation of this vast universe? Yeah, science should be filling us all with wonder. The images of the universe, the Hubble telescope has taken, yes. I know we love American science, but we also love Iranian Gnostic science that has explored the inner spaces of spirituality, Donald. Sometimes I think American science is too, full of itself. Okay, so what was there before this so-called Big Bang? Well, there must have been something. There must have been a God thing of some kind. The space-time bubble, yes, it must have come out of God somehow. Yeah, Einstein didn't live long enough to work it out. I know, so why can't we bring together the great scientists of both Iran and America? We could work out what there was before the Big Bang. Wouldn't that be Allah? Yeah, Allah. Well, that's right. Well, let's work out what Allah is. That's why I set up this Centre for Divine Intelligence Studies. Yeah, we've had a few meetings. I'd love to have one in Washington, D.C. at your Smithsonian Institute. We can ask all the scientists to come and say what they think divine intelligence is. Yeah, then we could have one in Com, and we can get all the Iranian scientists to come and say what they think divine intelligence is. We could film both events and then, compare and contrast. Okay, so I don't know. I'm just an asker of questions, right? I'm a Socratic teacher. Yeah, I've got a bit of Aristotle in me too, yeah. No, but all I can say to you both, and it's such a pleasure to talk to you at this level, thank you for listening, is that I believe the divine intelligence wants peace for this planet. That's one thing I think I can absolutely tell you. I've read through all the books, all the sacred texts, all the, holy books of all the peoples of the world. I'm doing commentaries on all of them, or as many as I can have time for. I mean, I've got the writings of Ali in front of me. Old Ali he didn't mince his words. Here's one that he said. This was a sermon he gave. O peoples, you have divergent beliefs and different views of life. You have physiques of man, but your mental capacity is very low. I want you to like and to love truth and justice, but you are as much afraid of them as a sheep is afraid of the roar of a lion. What a pity. I find it impossible to make you an example for working of the principles of equity and justice in society, or to make you go along a straight path. My aim was to bring justice, peace, and prosperity to your creatures, so that the oppressed may receive due protection, and bounds of human liberty set by thy commandments may be duly regarded. Well, that's a little quote from Ali there. Yes, you mentioned that in your thesis, did you, President Rouhani? Yes, I'd love to, yeah. Well, I still stand by my commentary on the Quran. I really hope you will see it translated into Persian. If you would do a forward to it, I would be deeply honoured. Yeah, yes, I would like it to be available in America too, as well as my commentaries on the Gospels. And I'm working on a commentary on the book of Genesis at the moment. Yeah, and I've done a commentary on the 3 books of Enoch. Yes, I have been rather busy, actually. Yeah, and the commentary on Karl Marx, yeah. Well, whoever wants to publish my collected works in Persian and English, well, that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Yeah, well, I hope it's done before I die. I mean, obviously, this kind of thing they do when you're dead, like they did with Voltaire, but I'd much prefer if it happened during my lifetime, because then I can help edit the things. Well, yes, Thomas Jefferson and Thomas Paine are some of my heroes, and they're part of that American intellectual tradition that I honour, and that's why I'm talking to you, Donald. You represent that, whether you will or no. And you have, that's right, both of you, look, you, incredible intellectual depth in American and Iranian culture. This shouldn't be a war, this should be a struggle for truth between us. You know, let's have a cold struggle for a jihad on truth. Let's work out together. As I've said, bring the greatest Iranian scientists, the greatest American scientists, and philosophers, and poets, and mystics together. Let's have 99 of them. Let's meet in France. Or wherever, you know, we can meet wherever. But I'm offering France because it's a sort of centre for intellectual life. Yes. And then okay, and also I'm offering to have a face-to-face mediation with you both. I'm so grateful you agreed to this phone call, and I hope now you can go back and stand your military types down. They shouldn't be part of this conversation. They shouldn't be anywhere near influencing some kind of war thing. No, we've a tragic general who was fighting for the light has been killed accidentally through scary and ridiculous conflict, misinformation. Yeah, and I think it's time, Donald, you reappoint people in charge of your military and intelligence policy. Yes, and yes, my advice would be to free Assange. I mean, to withdraw this threat against him. He revealed how ridiculous the Iraqi war was in 2003. Yeah, the president of Mexico said he'd like him free. Well, call his bluff. Let him go to Mexico. Yeah, a lot of the old dissident intellectuals of the 1920s and 30s used to go down to Mexico, you know. Yeah, it's warmer, and it had beautiful women and great tequila. And in the 60s, they all explored, the amazing magical traditions of the American Indians. Yes, I'm a fan of American Indian religion as well, like Fritjof Schuon, the Sufi mystic. You've heard of him, Rouhani, have you? Ah, yes, that's right. Him, René Guénon, the whole team. They were all... I know, they would be jumping in their grave to think that this possible war was happening. Yeah. So look, I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to hopefully set up a meeting with your aide's help. Will you both come to Paris, please, for a face-to-face mediation? If you can bring your 99 intellectuals with you, that'll be great, but otherwise just come alone. Okay, and I'm sure that President Macron will be deeply, deeply honoured to host this. Paris will be at our disposal. Yes, I haven't met him personally, but I do think that he's very, very much on the side of peace here. France doesn't want World War III breaking out over this tragedy. No, France is a much more sophisticated culture than that stuff. And don't forget, it's where Ayatollah Khomeini came in exile. And you yourself, Rouhani, you came to Paris and lived in exile with Imam Khomeini, didn't you? Yeah, Paris is well, France generally is a haven for intellectuals on retreat. I suppose you could call me such a one. Yes, I fled from Brexit, Donald. By the way, please do your best to stop Brexit. It's a complete catastrophe. It's not good for anyone. The poor old British people are going to suffer, the Irish people. It's a nightmare. Yeah, we want to stay in Europe. It's ridiculous. It's like... You know, it's like somebody chopping off Manhattan and saying we don't want to be part of America anymore. Yeah, no, it's against love, you see. That's the ontology of love is that being likes to be with being. It's kind of, yeah, you understand that. It's the sexual urge people feel, yeah. Well, it's the same with the ontology of being. It loves, you know, Scotland, England, Wales, Ireland. We love being together. It's called the UK. Brexit's going to destroy it. And we love being with Europe because